called the district saying, it looks like there's going to be trouble. I was one of those officers dispatched.
When the screaming fades, the silence doesn't bring peace, it breeds something darker. Half a century after the Polish Hall massacre, the Hells Angels have resurfaced on a new front, the Arizona border. But this time, their enemies weren't rival bikers, they were an army. And against all odds, the Angels didn't fall. They called it the Borderline Blood Pact. The Arizona desert has never been just sand and stone. It's a lawless expanse, a 1,000-mile graveyard haunted by the ghosts of gun runners, smugglers, and outlaws. For decades, it was a quiet corridor between two nations, until the stillness was shattered by the thunder of Harley engines. From the north rode the Hells Angels, the most infamous outlaw brotherhood on earth. From the south advanced the Sinaloa Cartel, armed to the teeth and bound by brutal discipline, their reach stretching from Sonora to California. Somewhere between those borders, destiny drew a line in the dust. And before we can grasp how 300 cartel soldiers ended up dead, we must first understand who dared to face them and why.
That space there was the Polish Women's Hall. It was a Polish neighborhood, and they would have events there. They decided to have a bike show to show trophy motorcycles, custom motorcycles.
The footage is grainy, pulled from the A&E documentary Secrets of the Hells Angels. It captures what investigators would later call the deadliest biker brawl in American history, a scene soaked in blood, smoke, and legend. Cleveland, 1974. The Polish Women's Hall Massacre. 32 Angels, outnumbered 8-1 by rival bikers, yet somehow walking out alive. The Breed Gang was annihilated, the hall drenched in crimson. But this wasn't chaos, it was strategy. A coordinated strike. Pre-positioning. A tactic that would resurface nearly 50 years later on the Arizona border. By 2023, the Sinaloa Cartel had tightened its grip on smuggling corridors along Arizona's western frontier, a stretch from Lukeville to San Luis Rio, Colorado, known ominously as the Sonoran Gate. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported unprecedented spikes in illegal crossings, not just migrants, but armed convoys moving under the desert's cover. What appeared to be small militia patrols near Ajo, Arizona, were soon revealed as something else. Intercepted radio chatter exposed discipline, hierarchy, and call signs linked to the Hells Angels Nomads chapter out of California. This wasn't about turf anymore. It was about revenge. The Angels had lost too many brothers not to rival gangs, but to fentanyl. The poison came from Sinaloa, and they intended to return it to sender. Reports from the Pima County Sheriff's Department detailed a string of violent encounters along State Route 85 charred vehicles. 7.62 NATO casings, tire tracks leading north toward a biker rest stop near Y, Arizona. Witnesses spoke of unmarked Harley packs escorting trucks in tight formations through desert trails, behavior consistent with trained tactical convoys. Still, few believed the Angels would ever dare confront a cartel head-on. Then came the night of March 17, 2024. What began as a routine desert run turned into open warfare. Around 1 a.m., a caravan of 12 trucks linked to Los Niños, Sinaloa's elite enforcement wing slipped through an unguarded corridor near Organ Pipe National Monument. They carried M249 belt feds, RPGs, and night vision drones, en route to a safe house near KSAB used for narcotic storage. What they didn't know was that the Angels had already sealed their fate. According to a federal agent quoted by Reuters, this was the first recorded tactical engagement between a U.S. biker syndicate and a Mexican cartel. CBP's post-incident report confirmed that the Angels had infiltrated days earlier, burying weapons caches at choke points, mirroring tactics from their 1970s war playbook. They moved with military precision, communicating over encrypted shortwave. At their head was Rex Mendes, a former Marine, expelled years before for unauthorized actions, reinstated under one grim cause. Known for his discipline and his hatred of cartels, Mendes led from the front. At 1:14 a.m., the Los Niños convoy rolled into the kill zone. Thermal imagery caught flashes so intense, they registered on orbital sensors mistaken by satellites as lightning strikes over the Sonoran Desert. The silence of the border was broken once more, and this time it screamed. What followed was 43 minutes of chaos, a desert war spread across nearly 3 miles of scorched terrain. One Border Patrol ranger stationed 11 miles north later described the sound as constant automatic fire, like Fallujah. According to Vice News, the firefight involved roughly 40 Angels and more than 200 cartel gunmen. The bikers used the terrain like veterans, maneuvering through dune trails to flank the convoy, striking from the north and west with semi-automatic rifles and improvised explosives. Forensic audio later revealed the use of NATO hand signals and staggered formations military discipline executed in a criminal theater. By dawn, the drones told the story the witnesses couldn't. Burning trucks, black smoke clawing up into the Sonoran sky, and bodies, dozens of them, scattered like shadows across the sand. The Angels were gone, vanished into the desert before the first patrol arrived. The FBI's El Paso field office would eventually confirm 317 dead, nearly all from Sinaloa's Los Niños division. Among them was Victor Elpez Quinterero, a mid-level lieutenant responsible for overseeing fentanyl shipments through Arizona. His death ignited a brutal purge within the cartel's ranks, sparking accusations of betrayal and retribution across Mexico. Officially, the Bureau called it a multi-party transnational incident under investigation. Unofficially, everyone along the border already knew who had done it. Farmers near Alter found fresh Harley tracks carved into dry riverbeds. Residents in Lukeville swore they heard motorcycles rumbling past at night, no headlights, no plates, just engines whispering through the dark. The Intercept later reported that federal agencies had long known of the Angels' growing presence near the border, but had chosen not to act. Internal memos hinted why. Some officials believed the bikers were a self-regulating deterrent. To cartel movement, a shadow force cleaning the mess law enforcement couldn't touch. But the Angels didn't need permission. They had a code one older than any law: silence, no boasting, no witnesses, no confessions. Still, traces of the truth surfaced. On hidden biker forums, encrypted posts began to appear, skull patches marked 317, wings aflame, a date and a number whispered in reverence. A memorial to the brothers who never came back. Yet silence has limits. The desert keeps its secrets, but the dead do not. Hundreds of cartel soldiers buried in sand, a battle the government refused to name, and from that denial, legend began to take root. To understand the oath that binds the Angels, the silence, the vengeance, the blood debt, we must go back to the nights that forged their creed, back to where every war they fight today was born in an older, bloodier past. The night the desert burned, the battle history would call, the Sonoran purge began beneath a sky too still to trust. From the Mexican side, it looked like any other smuggling run, another convoy slipping through the dark. But locals swore the air felt different, thick, charged, humming with something unseen. It wasn't weather. It was war. Just before 1 a.m., sensors from CBP's Tucson sector flagged irregular heat blooms near Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, where the border fence slices a jagged wound across the sand. Motion-triggered cameras caught a convoy crawling north, headlights dimmed, tires dragging to muffle sound. But the real movement, the one no one noticed at first, was happening just west of them. A parallel force, silent and waiting. A smaller formation crept through the desert, nearly invisible, its movement betrayed only by the faint pulse of red brake lights cutting through the darkness. It was the Hells Angels. Later, satellite data confirmed what few would believe. Both convoys, the Sinaloa trucks and the bikers, had entered the same square mile of desert within 4 minutes of each other. What followed became legend, according to internal DHS communications obtained by the Washington Post. Agents monitoring the live feed initially mistook the Angels for a Border Patrol tactical unit. Multiple heat contacts, one operator reported. Looks like law enforcement engaging smugglers. Then, the desert ignited. From reconstructions by Mexican state police, the Sinaloa convoy was ambushed from two sides, north and west, under heavy suppressive fire. Explosions tore through the sand, triggered by IEDs hidden beneath pre-marked stones. It was no chaotic assault. It was choreography, a coordinated strike with military precision. Veterans who reviewed the footage recognized it instantly.